Okay, let's get into this. Today, we're doing a deep dive into a really fascinating figure, a business visionary whose ideas, well, they started over a century ago, but honestly, they feel incredibly sharp, incredibly relevant right now. We are talking about Tomáš Baťa, and we're drawing insights from Pavel Hrejsemnou's book, 100 Baťa's Rules.
Yeah, and it's a great source because, the inspiration comes from people who are really in it.
Exactly. Family members who work there even went to the famous Baťa School of Work.
Right.
Live the culture.
Right. Firsthand experience.
So our mission today is pretty clear. We want to explore Baťa's core ideas, figure out why they were so powerful back then.
And how they still apply.
And how they apply. How they offer maybe a shortcut to understanding what really matters for business success and, personal grace today. What can you, listening now, take from this history and actually use?
Well, what's really fascinating, I think, and the book highlights this right away, is how much Baťa's whole approach was just rooted in people. The fundamental belief, really the bedrock, was that a company's success isn't just, ordered from the top.
Right, it's not a memo.
No, it's absolutely a collective thing. It depended entirely on everyone being involved, engaged, contributing, from the factory floor up.
That makes sense. It wasn't just about labor, was it?
Not at all. It was about building these strong, cohesive teams that felt like they had a shared purpose beyond just making shoes,
And getting people invested like that.
Yeah.
That's the tricky part. How did he actually do it? How did he turn that belief into reality?
The book really details his approach to motivation, specifically systems of rewards tied directly to results.
Oh, okay.
Like profit sharing, even offering company stock to employees. The goal wasn't just a paycheck. It was creating this direct line.
A connection.
Yeah, a connection between their effort, their team's performance, and the company's actual success. So, everyone was incentivized to contribute because they literally shared in the upside.
That feels very modern.
Yeah.
Actually, like agile teams sharing responsibility and being rewarded for outcomes.
Exactly. When employees see that direct link, my effort matters and I benefit their willingness to chip in, it just skyrockets.
Right.
And building on that, Bao's leadership style, it wasn't about being the boss in the, traditional hierarchical sense.
Oh, so?
His philosophy was really simple, but powerful. Lead by example. The book tells stories about him actually working on the factory floor right alongside employees.
Wow.
He believed a leader's real value wasn't just their individual output, but their ability to inspire, to guide, to kind of lift the whole team.
And that's where it gets really interesting for today, I think. That idea of the leader being in the work, understanding the challenges firsthand. Doesn't that map directly onto the modern idea of a leader as more of a coach, a mentor, someone transparent, invested in developing their people?
It really does. Leading by example, like Baoyu did, it's about earning that respect, that support through actually showing your commitment.
Yeah.
Especially when things get tough.
Not just asking people to do things you wouldn't do yourself.
Precisely. And if you zoom out a bit, it connects perfectly with servant leadership principles, which are so talked about now.
Explain that a bit.
Well, the core idea is that leadership is fundamentally a service to society, yes, but also crucially a service to the people inside the organization.
Okay.
Baoyu saw business leaders not just as, profit makers, but as servants meeting needs. Both the customer's needs and the employee's needs.
That means actively helping them grow.
Exactly. Supporting their development, giving them the tools, creating an environment where they could genuinely grow, learn, and, succeed. That focus on serving the employee's potential. Yeah. Honestly, it was revolutionary for its time.
So moving from just leading people to actively growing them, Baoyu's focus on employee education was, incredibly forward-thinking for his era.
Oh, absolutely.
The book describes the Baoyu School of Work not just as job training, but as this whole system. Developing skills, sure, but also character, discipline, a real understanding of the business itself.
It was a true investment in the future. He recognized that the company's growth was tied directly, inextricably to the growth of its people.
And we see that today, don't we? Companies pouring resources into lifelong learning. Training, courses.
Everything from super technical stuff to soft skills, communication, teamwork.
It's still that same core idea. invest in the person to invest in the business.
Right. And there's another angle the book touches on, the link between that personal growth and preventing burnout, promoting well-being.
Ah, interesting. How so?
Well, money's important, obviously. Financial rewards matter, but they're often not enough for long-term motivation, for real fulfillment.
People need more.
Exactly. People need to feel like they're growing, learning new things, progressing, finding meaning in what they do. Modern companies get this. Supporting well-being isn't just about, yoga classes. It's also about facilitating that growth, which builds resilience, satisfaction.
And loyalty, presumably. Bowie seemed very focused on keeping people.
He was. He made sure employees could see a path forward inside the company, career planning, opportunities for advancement that was built into the system.
Knowing there's a future for you, that definitely builds loyalty, helps reduce that costly turnover we see so much today.
For sure. And how did he actually help people along that path? The book mentions mentoring and coaching being really key parts of the BUA system.
So learning from experienced hands.
Exactly. Passing down that practical wisdom, guiding newer folks. It's the same reason effective mentorship programs are so valued today. They transfer knowledge, develop talent.
Okay, let's pivot slightly. We've talked about growth, but what about challenges, obstacles?
Yeah.
How did Bowie view those?
He had a really powerful take on this. One of his sayings was something like, a good worker is someone who knows how to overcome obstacles.
So problems aren't necessarily bad?
Not inherently, no. He saw them as just part of the process. But more than that, as opportunities, chances to learn, to grow, to innovate.
That changes the whole mindset, doesn't it?
It really does. It fosters a culture of resilience, adaptability.
Mm-hmm.
If problems are seen as chances to improve, you create an environment where people feel supported, given the space and tools to actually tackle them.
Instead of fearing them.
Right. To find creative solutions and learn from what works and what doesn't, it's about actively engaging with difficulties.
Okay, so from tackling problems to just getting things done effectively. Discipline seems like a huge theme for Bowie.
Absolutely central. His principle, discipline is the basis of success. But, and the book is clear on this, it wasn't about blind obedience.
Not just following rules rigidly.
No, it was more like a structured way of working, a framework designed for efficiency, for stability, and ultimately for sustainable growth across the board.
And that kind of discipline. I mean, it's still crucial today, isn't it, in this chaotic world?
Definitely. It's the tool for achieving goals. Consistency, clear priorities, actually following through on plans.
Personal discipline, too, right? The book connects it to self-control, motivation.
Yes, taking responsibility for your time, your tasks, your results. You hear successful people talk about the power of that kind of focus all the time.
It wasn't just individual discipline, though, was it? He applied it to teams.
He did. His system used these independent workshop units. Each one basically operated like a mini business within the bigger company.
Oh.
This created a sense of collective discipline, shared accountability within those teams, making sure each part functioned well, which helped the whole company run smoothly.
And when those units worked well, they were efficient. That's another Bowie hallmark, right? Efficiency.
Oh, absolutely. Masters of it. The book goes into his relentless focus on optimizing processes, using resources to the max. This is where his famous time records come in.
Right, tell us about those.
They weren't just time clocks. It was a whole system for measuring output, individual, team, providing data.
Data for what?
For optimizing workflows, finding bottlenecks, making production more efficient. And again, efficiency wasn't just about cutting costs. It was also about speed, quality, making the most of every single resource. But what's really cool, and the book points this out, is that he didn't just impose efficiency from the top down.
No.
He got the employees involved. Every worker was encouraged, maybe even expected, to look for ways to improve their own job, their workshop's processes.
That sounds like lean Kaizen.
Exactly. That bottom-up continuous improvement. Think Toyota. The people doing the work are empowered to make it better. That was Bowie's approach, too.
Okay, but things don't always go smoothly. Mistakes happen. How did Bowie handle failure?
His approach seems very pragmatic. Yes, there was responsibility, accountability, but the main focus, according to the book, was learning from mistakes.
So not just punishment.
Not primarily. Mistakes were seen as valuable feedback, data points essentially, to be analyzed for improvement, not something to hide.
That's a much healthier way to look at it. Builds resilience.
It does. It's why modern practices like postmortems are so useful. After something goes wrong, you break it down systematically. What happened? Why? How do we prevent it next time?
Working with mistakes constructively instead of just assigning blame.
Exactly. Much more productive in the long run.
Okay, let's shift our focus outwards now to the customer. Baťa famously called the customer. What was it?
Zakaznik je naszym panem. The customer is our master.
Right. Legendary phrase. And the book shows this wasn't just a slogan, was it? It shaped everything.
Everything. Product design, store layout, service. It was the guiding philosophy.
And in today's world, with online reviews, social media, that customer power is just amplified, isn't it?
Massively amplified. Tenfold. Easily.
Yeah.
And the book implies this principle demanded constant adaptation even back then. Customer behavior always changes today. The demand for personalization, speed, convenience, it's off the charts.
Online, shopping, instant communication.
It's completely changed the game. How customers interact, what they expect. Companies have to be agile, responsive, deliver that great experience.
And being responsive means listening.
Absolutely. Baťa had another direct thought on this. Customers will tell you what you're doing wrong.
Huh. No sugarcoating there?
None. He saw negative feedback not as something to get defensive about, but as incredibly valuable intel, a direct report card saying, hey, fix this.
Makes sense.
The challenge today, though, given the scale, it's managing the sheer volume of feedback from everywhere.
So many channels.
Right. Modern tools, AI, automation, they can help analyze it all. But the core principle, it's the same. Find the patterns, understand the real issues, use it to get better.
But you can't just react to every single comment, right?
Yeah.
You need a strategy.
Oh, definitely. You balance feedback with your strategic vision, but you absolutely have to be listening actively. The book suggests Baťa did this by empowering his people closest to the customer, sales staff, managers to feed that information back up the chain. It actually influenced decisions.
Building on that customer relationship. Trust seems vital. Baťa emphasized transparency, especially about products.
Hugely. The idea was the customer should always know exactly what they're buying and why.
No hidden stuff.
No. Clear pricing, honest descriptions, materials, quality. That straightforward approach, it builds that fundamental trust. Loyalty.
And was that transparency just about products?
No, it extended further. The book mentions transparency in financial matters strengthens trust. Baťa believed in being open about the company's finances.
With who? Investors.
Yes, but crucially also with employees. Sharing results, even for their specific workshop unit.
Ah, back to those units.
Right. It made employees feel connected, understand how their work fit into the bigger picture. Today, that kind of financial transparency is still vital. It helps prevent corruption, builds investor confidence, and really boosts employee engagement. People feel like stakeholders, not just cogs.
Interesting. Okay, thinking even bigger now, beyond the company itself. Did Baťa see a broader role for business?
He absolutely did. The book shows this powerful sense of broader responsibility. He saw business as a service to society, not just a profit engine.
How did that manifest?
Well, look at his investments in the community around his factories. Zlin is the prime example. He built housing, schools, hospitals, parks.
Wow, serious investment.
Yeah, directly linking the company's success to the well-being of the whole community.
That sounds a lot like modern corporate social responsibility, CSR, sustainability.
It connects directly. Companies today are increasingly expected to think about their environmental footprint, contribute socially. It's about that long-term sustainable value, not just short-term economics.
And underpinning all that must be ethics, right?
The bedrock, according to the book. Honesty, transparency, fairness. These weren't like optional extras for Baťa. They were fundamental for everyone.
Essential for trust.
Essential with customers, employees, the public. Ethical behavior is just foundational for company culture and public perception.
And consumers today are really driving this, aren't they?
Yeah.
Demanding eco-friendly products, ethical supply chains.
More and more. The book hints at this even then, but today it's huge. Companies that ignore it. They risk their reputation, lose market share, lose trust. Big time.
It all seems to come back to that long-term view.
Exactly. Baťa's focus wasn't just the next quarter's profit. It was creating long-term sustainable value that's intrinsically linked to sustainability, using resources responsibly, investing in people, sticking to ethical practices. It ensures the business can actually last.
Okay, one last major area. Looking outward. The global stage. Baťa had a big vision there, didn't he?
Remarkably bold for his time. The world is a market we must be prepared for. He went international way before many others, built a global footprint when it was incredibly difficult.
How did he manage that? Just exporting?
No, and this is key as the book details. He didn't just ship shoes, he built factories in other countries.
Really?
Yeah, involved local communities, hired local people, and crucially, adapted his products and services to local tastes. Real localization.
So not a one-size-fits-all approach.
Definitely not. He understood you couldn't sell the exact same thing everywhere. That approach built a global brand known for quality and responsibility, but tailored locally.
That highlights the need for cultural understanding, doesn't it? Respecting local difference.
That's vital. Then and now. It builds trust, leads to better decisions. You can't just impose your way everywhere.
And that lesson, international growth, adaptation, it's more critical than ever today, right?
Absolutely. Spreading across markets gives you resilience if one region struggles, and flexibility, being able to adapt quickly. It's non-negotiable. Global markets change so fast.
And that deep cultural understanding, Pavel practiced.
Still fundamental for global success. The book shows how it worked for him building trust, making sure the strategy actually fit the local reality.
Right. So let's try and pull these threads together. We've gone through Pavel Hrejsemnou's book on Bahua's rules.
Yeah.
We've seen his deep focus on people, empowering them, developing them.
The relentless discipline in actually getting things done.
That constant innovation driven by feedback, by tackling problems head on.
Really customer-centric, always.
Financial responsibility, transparency.
Operating with absolute ethical integrity.
And keeping that broad, adaptable, global view.
It really is striking, isn't it, how these principles, which seem almost simple or intuitive, how they provide such a solid framework for dealing with the complexities we face today. In business, even personally.
They feel timeless.
Because they probably are. Rooted in basic truths about people and how real value gets created.
So wrapping this up, what does this deep dive into Baťa's world mean for you listening right now? Maybe think about this. How disciplined are you in actually applying these timeless principles, things like honesty, hard work, constant learning, serving others in your own daily life, your own work? Are you building for the quick win, the short-term gain? Or are you really focused on creating that long-term sustainable value in the true, enduring spirit of Tomáš Baťa?